Good morning, all. It's the 27th of July. We're Signal Centre Talking Ball. I'm Joe Neighbour, joined by Steve O'Hare. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
You okay?
Yeah, not too bad.
Watching the Olympic action this morning?
I haven't actually, no.
No,
Have we done
missing
any good?
out.
Am
Yeah,
I?
we've got a gold and a silver in the swim, freestyle
Brilliant.
200 metres, first and second. Our girl got a silver in the triathlon, even though she
Brilliant.
got a puncture on the last lap.
Wow.
Yeah, and the taekwondo I was watching this morning, our girl Bianca Walkden, she missed out on the semi-final match, but she's got a bronze medal match coming up in a little while, so hopefully she can get that. She got kicked in the head on the last kick of the match, like the last second,
Oh, really?
to lose
She
it.
would have won it.
Yeah,
Got it.
fascinating to watch. That's my new favourite sport, I think, taekwondo. I've been watching loads of it.
Yeah, but according to Piers, the arsehole Morgan, if you haven't got a gold medal, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I don't listen to what he says.
What an
Don't give him
arsehole.
any airtime.
Oh dear, dear, oh dear,
Yeah.
oh dear. He's got no idea about some things. Well,
No,
about a
he
lot of
just does
things.
it for attention. That's he's made a career
Yeah,
out of it. It's what, and people
yeah.
respond to it, and that's giving him exactly what he wants.
He should crawl away back to his hole that he's been in for a while.
Yeah. Right, let's crack on then. So there's been a sustained fall in new coronavirus cases in the UK, which is being cautiously welcomed by scientists. No consensus over what's driving the drop. Probably got something to do with the schools, I imagine, because obviously they were pretty rigorous on the testing, and the testing numbers would be lower because they're not at school. So maybe that's something to do with it. But the City of London has been its busiest for the last 16 months, apparently, in terms of attendance levels, but obviously still well below pre-pandemic levels, but a sign that things are slowly returning to normal, which is great.
Yeah.
In terms of Bitcoin, that was obviously very much in the news yesterday. A big spike to the upside on the back of Amazon making some noises that they'd be joining the cryptocurrency space. It did briefly surpass the $40,000 level, but it did sharply reverse at that point as Amazon denied that its job posting for a digital currency executive meant that it would accept the token for payments this year. So rival coins, Ether and Litecoin also tumbled. And the US probe into Tether is homing in on whether executives behind the token committed fraud. So, still littered with these issues, which continue to dent the legitimacy and the adoption, I guess, of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah,
But hopefully we can
that tether
stamp
is a
this
big
out.
story. The tether's a big story,
Yeah,
yeah, it's sort of like none of the facts add up to. It's basically like a bit like the dollar did when it was the gold was the standard peg, and then they removed the gold standard, and then it's just a bit of paper, not worth anything really, just a number.
Okay.
So a little bit like tether, it's sort of like had to be backed one tether equals $1, and that was how they set out, and then they realized there was so much demand for the tether they couldn't actually do that, so they replaced it with loans, but didn't really sort of make a big story of it, funnily enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's relatively still in its infancy, isn't it, in terms of cryptocurrencies and adoption? So these things are going to happen, I guess. Okay, not much on the news front, really. We did hit record highs yesterday on the S&P 500, which isn't a surprise because obviously we're in a massive uptrend anyway. But today looks to be dominated by corporate earnings. We've got tech giants Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet or Google all reporting today on what has become Tech Tuesday. On the calendar front, we've got a couple of bits to keep an eye out for as well, which we'll come on to in a bit. But time for us to get stuck into the charts. Steve, where do you want to start with this today?
Well, I'll start with cryptocurrencies. I've done a little video which will be available later on the YouTube channel. And yeah, just obviously this rally that we've had while I was away, Bitcoin decided to sort of try and squeeze higher, but I've turned up, and the day I turn up, it gets smacked back down again. So normal order is restored to the markets. So doesn't look so. The reaction doesn't look so bad here. I mean, it's a shooting star candle, but it's quite a big body. Normally, it's better to see smaller bodies. It shows there's more of a reaction or more of an overreaction initially, and then more of a rejection of the rally. And it stalled in front of 41,000 for me. That's the resistance, not 40,000. And the Ichimoku cloud did play a part in that. So shooting star candle, but it's more obvious on Ethereum, Ripple, and Cardano. And you can see it's done the same thing. It's hit this resistance level, breached it slightly, got up to 2435, 23,890 was the resistance, and shooting star candle. We really need confirmation today with a negative move lower to confirm a shooting star formation. Ripple, the same, didn't quite react quite as much, didn't really get above the previous swing high, coming in at 73.20, stalled at 68, and shooting star candle looks pretty negative now. So all typical types of rejections that you get in a market, which is obviously pretty illiquid, I would say. There's a nice little trend line we're seeing in Cardano. Really needs to sort of like break below the dollar level
All
to
those
see some
rejections
follows.
nicely in line with the cloud, I see.
Yeah, the cloud is performing quite nicely in this. Obviously, I'll remain bearish while we are below this 41,000 level in Bitcoin. So my view won't change until we break that. From the weekly chart, we can see the head and shoulders formation, which we talked about yesterday, is a bit of an extended right shoulder. So a bit of a complex formation maybe. But yeah, still sticking with it. On the weekly chart, this will look negative if we continue to move lower and close lower on the week. Commodities, oil, I've talked about this corrective phase that I believe we're in. Had this rejection of the lows from last week. Let's see how the daily chart performed. Again, there's a few, it's a bit muddy. Get rid of some of these things. Even actually, let's hide the Ichimoku cloud for a second. Hanging man candle after yesterday's price action, almost like a dragonfly doji, gravestone doji, whatever it's called. And yes, followed by negative price action today. So if we do get some follow through here, that will be an evening doji star formation on the daily chart. So negative. The momentum is stalling, trying to push negative. Really need to see what happens today. If we get above 72.15, I'll go with the flow above that for longs. But if that caps gains today, then I expect we'd have another little retracement downwards.
While I was covering this while you was off, Steve, I just had a channel drawn on the chart. I don't know if should I share it?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
As well. Just looking at it with a different set of eyes. We had a break of channel on the channel started in November last year. We saw a touch point there in May. A couple of touch points here before then a break to the downside, and we saw some support come in here between sort of 65.10 to 66.41. Wondering whether or not this is maybe going to be a bit of a retest to the underside of that channel before another rollover to the downside.
Yeah, quite
big
possibly.
Volume on the break as well.
Yeah, so you're taking that sort of November the 2nd sort of swing low. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my trend line, which I've got on this chart, also is like basically takes that November 2nd low into account. So there we see it there.
Okay,
and we've gone from right back here. So it is, and we obviously have retested it briefly there. So for me, it feels a little bit more bullish because I'm sort of going with a longer term line, longer term support line. But yeah, I see exactly where you're going. You're sort of taking the low from there, taking that point, and yeah, we are under a bit of pressure on according to your chart. It shows that it has got that potential for sort of like struggling around these levels. It does feel a bit like that, and I think the next couple of days of price action will play out. Obviously, we'll have the normal malarkey tomorrow with inventories, and obviously we've still got the OPEC plus nations arguing over what they want to do. Everyone's got a different agenda when it comes to oil, so yeah, I think it's definitely one to watch. On to gold. Now, this for me is a bit interesting, bit more interesting than it was. My long term, I'm looking at higher price action, but we are in this channel, this corrective channel. Potentially we formed a bottom around about 1750, but I wouldn't hang my hat on it yet. I still think there's a bit more to come. We've got the obviously we've got the gold as normal, sort of is a flight to quality, a safe haven. But I'm not sure whether it's really sort of, it knows what it wants to do at the moment. We've got it sort of mid-range around about this $1,800 level, 1750 obviously on the downside, and the recent spike higher got to 1835, short of the resistance around 1850. So I really think this is just a pivotal level, this 1800 level. And I think it feels a little bit negative to me. We've got the momentum on the MACD crossing over, so that's negative. Last couple of days of price action have been negative. The 4-hour chart, I'd like to see what the cloud is saying. We're below the cloud, so potentially bearish. There's not much in the way of resistance here, but it does, the heavy resistance comes in as we proceed over the next few days, or sorry, yeah, next couple of days into the sort of end of the month. If we manage to sort of like maintain price action below sort of like 1810, 1812, then I think we could have a little bit of a move lower. I'm contemplating, I mean, if we look at it and squint a little bit, we've got a bit of a makings of a head and shoulders formation. So I'm actually short-term negative on gold. Just by drawing this in, it sort of plays, it could play out quite nicely. Really, we get a break of this, well, 1790, should we say that's the level? A sell a break of 1790. I think that's been offered good support recently. We do get a break below there. I think we could have a fast move lower. So I'll be tempted to go short of that on the gun to head challenge. On the indices, again, I want to highlight China 50. We talked about it yesterday. Let's get it on the daily chart. It looks, although the 4-hour chart does give a nice formation. We talked about it yesterday. We had this break lower, and we talked about the support or the potential measured move target. On the weekly chart, we can see it. We had this measured move target all the way down here, and it's nailed it, absolutely nailed it, 14,500. So that's played out really nicely, quite pleased with that. And I still have to find that story that I read about how the China 50, it can basically be the leader, and everyone will follow. So we've got the potential for an indice sell-off, I think. If we do get below and hold below this 14,500 level, then I think it's sayonara. If that's, I think that's Japanese actually. So maybe I'll have to look at Nikkei for some assistance. Again, that's in a descending sort of triangle formation, which can be negative. Obviously, we've had a rally up into it, so potentially it's a extended move higher. But if it fails, again, we got the support coming in here. Even sort of going back to what was previous resistance turned support, and that comes in at 26,975, so around about 27,000. That's the level to watch in Nikkei. Hang Seng obviously has gone the same way as the China 50, and there's fresh air there to sort of like, it's like catching a knife really. So I'll be very, very wary of these markets. Next real support coming in at around about 23,000. But what's going on in our world? So FTSE, negative price action today. Again, that's a bit of a negative formation, evening doji star formation. Similar hanging man candle yesterday on DAX, and that was at the previous downward trending resistance, which we did break above, but it held really nicely and looks negative. So I'd be wary of that. I can't say the same for the Dow or the S&P, because they just keep getting bought up by the governments. A hanging man candle though on the Dow yesterday, Nasdaq, hanging man candle, bearish price action today. That's not often used to get to see that hanging man candle on S&P. So these hanging man candles are hanging around. Is that the potential end of this short-term rally we've seen? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, no stopping it, is there really? You get a couple of
No.
days of weakness and it just roars back.
I
But,
don't know. I think the
if
China
China's
50.
leading the way,
Yeah, exactly. This China 50 chart would concern me if I'm sitting there holding a load of indices.
yeah, fair enough. Okay. Right, thank you very much, Steve. Let's jump on to FX and going to start not with that, but with the dollar index. So price action yesterday was bearish, as you can see there, highlighted by that red candle, but it remains trapped within this wedge. We've moved to the lower end. We did have a tiny bit of a dip below, but the buys have stepped back in, and it's up by 0.15% so far today. So all in all, the trend remains pretty good. And I think we need to try and clear this resistance here at 93.02, which was the gap created back here from the 5th to the 6th of April. Above that, then it's the all-important 93.43 level. So still expecting dollar strength, but at the moment it's a little bit choppy, as we can see. But underlying bias, I think, is bullish. On Aussie Yen, again, looking for opportunities to fade this. We saw 5 consecutive days of strength, but we've posted an ugly looking candle so far today, down by 0.56% as it stands. This is the daily chart. Price action has been rounding off for a number of months. We broke through these support levels, which are now resistance between 81.97 to 82.28. Any advances towards this kind of area, for me, represents an opportunity to sell. As you can see, this sort of uplift in price over the last 5 sessions or so wasn't really supported with anything over above average on volume. So, an opportunity to fade. And looking at the weakness that we're seeing today, I think we're going to see continuation to the downside. Aussie dollar still looks really bearish against the US. We've got a big head and shoulders top, which completed some weeks ago. And again, no signs of that slowing down. A little bit of a fight back in the last few sessions, but sellers are back in control today, down by 0.35% as it stands. And for me, lower prices expected. In terms of where the ultimate target is, we've got a head and shoulders top, which has a measured move target at 70.57. So that will be the short to medium term target on the downside. Looking at euro dollar, flip side of dollar index, we haven't seen the break up on dollar index that we're all waiting for at the moment above 93.43, which confirms the double bottom. We've got price action stalling around about the neckline of this head and shoulders top pattern that we've got drawn on the daily chart. Haven't seen any sort of impulsive moves to the downside or big breaks lower. So really for me, all eyes are now on this 117.04 level, which is the horizontal support level, which would really confirm the top is in place for me on Euro USD. So still waiting. Price action still bumbling around here, not really going anywhere. Looking for a decisive break in my eyes for further decline. One thing we could potentially look at is this little consolidation channel. If we do see a break up, then we could see a bit of a corrective move to the upside in the very short term. Although I expect it to be short-lived because overall I'm bearish, that is maybe something to keep in mind, maybe a bit of an ending wedge taking shape there. So potential for explosive moves in both directions, I think, with euro dollar, but a bit of a coin toss as to whether or not it will go up and down at this point. Cable. So this for me has completed this double top. We've broken down below the level here at 136.70, but we fought back pretty strongly. Again, I think upside will be limited. I think if we were to get above 139.01, then I'd probably have to give up on this idea of this double top. But for now, I still think there's opportunities to sell into strength. And this is where the ultimate risk reward sort of lies, really. If you can get short here, and this does indeed fail to or prevents the upside, then entries around here with targets down here is sort of the maximum payout potential on that one. So worthwhile keeping an eye on that. Potentially on a speculative basis, looking to fade into gains towards 139.00. Dollar CAD was quite interesting for me. We've broken out this big wedge, big channel that's been in place since March last year. And in the short term, price action is looking pretty nice. So although we did spike up, we've had a bit of a corrective move down. We're into some support around 125.25. So I'm looking at that as a potential opportunity to buy for higher prices, given that I do think the dollar overall looks pretty strong. And this, from a technical perspective, probably looks like one of the better candidates to play the US dollar. So that's it from me on the FX side of things.
Cool.
Okay, gun to the head from yesterday. Not much positive to speak about. Steve, you were stopped out on DAX for a 60 tick loss, and I had an 11 tick loss, or a 0.52R loss on Platinum at the 9 p.m. Cut-off, where we cut off those trades each day. So personally, I'm on a bit of a stinking run, so need to try and sort that out. Steve, have you, or is there anything you fancy at the minute?
Yeah, I fancy selling Bitcoin because it's going lower. Yeah, I'd prefer to sell a break of 36,393. That's my caveat. But I'm not. I'm going to sell it here, which is 37,188. It's nice to have a 10,000 tick stop, or is it 100,000 tick stop? 100,000 point stop in. So my stop is at 38,188, and I'm looking for potentially. I'm looking for. Is that too greedy? 6-1. Let's go.
No, not in Bitcoin.
Not in Bitcoin. No,
You see the
why not?
reverse of what we saw yesterday, don't you?
Yeah, why not? Back to where we were. Back to where we were trading last week. It's not that much. 6-1 shot. So a bit of a punchy one. But yeah, I sort of.
Who
That's
knows?
what I feel.
Yeah, all right,
that's it.
cool. Good luck. Okay, I'm going to take a look at dollar CAD. As I mentioned, I fancy this one on the longer term charts. It seems to be holding some support around 125.25. Just sort of zooming into the intraday charts to get a bit of a refined entry on that. I want to buy now at 125.77, and I'm going to target a move up to 127.37, just below these recent highs. Stop loss, I'm going 125.37, so looking for 4R. I mean, if I was being a bit more sensible, it'd probably be at the underneath the range, but I want a nice risk reward ratio on that today. So going for 4-1 long trade on dollar CAD.
Nice one.
Okay, so in terms of what is out later and that could be moving markets, obviously we talked about these big tech names that are due out in the States. We've got, again, just to refresh your memory, Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet all reporting today on what has been dubbed Tech Tuesday. On the calendar front, we also need to keep an eye out for US durable goods orders, which is due out at 1:30. Orders to rise 2.1% month on month and 0.8% excluding transportation orders. And then at 3 p.m., a fairly big number out of the States, we've got the US consumer confidence figure. The index is expected to fall to 125.3. So keep an eye on all things US dollar between 1:30 and 3 p.m. for those key announcements. And obviously these tech earnings that are due out, I think, after hours today in the States. So we will have to wait and see tomorrow morning what sort of reaction we have from those.
Excellent.
Cool. Have a great day, everybody. That's it from us, and we'll be back tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers.
Bye.